Today we're heading into the mountains that are northeast of Rome, and we'll be talking about Italy's 7% flat income tax for pensioners. We're also going to take a look at a number of different properties in various towns in this zone, so you can see what you get for your money and if the town is a good match for you. In this video, I'll be showing you a lot of the roadways so you can see what traveling up here is really like. It's very important that you see how isolated some of these 7% towns can be and what it would actually be like getting from your town down to major services like hospitals. Our first town will be Cerreto di Spoleto. Spoleto is the main regional town. It's about 30 minutes from Cerreto di Spoleto back down into Spoleto. It's one of 3 towns we'll be visiting today that's part of the 7% tax initiative designed for foreigners living in Italy. So Italy offers this 7% flat tax rate on foreign pension incomes to retirees who move to certain qualifying regions. This tax initiative, introduced in 2019, is designed to attract foreign retirees by providing a low and simplified tax regime. To qualify, individuals must receive a foreign pension, move their tax residency to a town with fewer than 20,000 residents in one of the eligible areas of Italy, and not have been a tax resident of Italy for the previous 5 years. It all sounds too good to be true, right? Well, after 10 years, the tax subsidy goes away. You will have already bought a property and be living in one of these remote areas. Then there's the question of where they're making you move. The town Norcia that you see on that sign was nearly destroyed in an earthquake in 2016 with over 300 people dead. That is the issue with living in this general area. I could find very few towns in Umbria that are part of this program. The only reason I can think of that these towns are is their proximity to where these earthquakes were. It's not a gift from the Italian government. It's a deal. It's a deal that you'll live here, risking this to get a break on your taxes. And I would never tell anyone where they should or should not live, but I do believe that you need absolutely the best information on every area. I hear tons of people talking about moving to Abruzzo and Umbria. I don't often hear anybody talking about the risks from earthquakes. Now let's lighten this up a little bit. We're almost up to Cerreto di Spoleto. And I think you're going to find it's actually a charming little town. Not a whole lot going on. There's a fruit and vegetable place, there's a bar, there's a restaurant, and that's about all that's up here. But remember, something that's nice about this town, that unlike the next 2 towns we're going to see after this, we're only 30 minutes from Spoleto on a pretty good state highway. There's also some stuff down below this town, so you don't feel quite so isolated here. Spoiler alert, if I had to choose between the 3 towns you're going to see today, this one would be the one. I think this is the high water mark. Now, as we're finishing up the drive up into the center of the town, let me bring up another point, and I'll be repeating this again. Just because you're paying a 7% flat tax does not mean you won't have tax obligations back to the United States if that's where you're from. The tax treaty keeps you from being double taxed, but you will be paying your tax first in Italy and then paying what you would have been paying in the US minus what you've already paid to Italy. That's the tax treaty. Another nice thing about this village versus the next 2 we're going to go see is that the elevation here is only 560 meters, about 1,800 feet above sea level. The other villages we're going to are more like 3,000 feet. So it's not going to be quite as cold, quite as snowy here as it can get in those other villages. And really, when you come into town, this looks awfully cute. For all the local offerings for properties for sale up here, I thought this one was about the nicest. The view is unparalleled. I find that the prices up here, to me, are surprisingly high. This is about 100 US dollars per square foot, or roughly 1,000 euros per square meter, which seems a little high for the area, but the house is beautiful inside. It's really nicely done. Love the floor tile, love the wood doors, the wood beams in the ceiling. You can see that inside this kitchen shot, they've used steel I-beams in the ceiling. So this thing has had a very good going through with making it a very strong place to live. And I'm not going to do the in-depth property tour type stuff I normally do. I just wanted you guys to see inside of a property or two from each village to see what kind of things are available. And to me, this is spectacular. I really like the looks of this one. Each of these little towns has its own rhythm. People here know what days the fruit truck is coming up, or the meat vendor or the seafood person, and they pop up here and people buy what they want. Plus you have a bar like that one there. There was a bar on the other side of the square that was open. There's a little fruit shop up here. So there's little bits of stuff going on here. This is another house that's for sale in town. It's a lot less expensive than the other one. It works out to about 60 US dollars per square foot, or about 650 euros per square meter. And it seems like it's in decent shape. There weren't very many good photos. It's not furnished. There was just this one odd couch in there, but it looks like it's in pretty good shape. We're going to look at one more property, but I wanted to show you guys the fruit and vegetable store was actually open. Sometimes these things aren't not open every day because they just don't have that much business up here. And you got to meet the local cat. And I wanted to show you the view from up here because you really need to see how high up we are. That bridge down below goes into another tunnel, kind of like the one we came through. More through the mountains, higher and higher it goes. And that's a nice view of the town. Now let's look at the last house. So this is actually in one of the other hamlets, one of the smaller parts of this town that aren't exactly in the old part of the town that we just walked through. But it's a pretty nice looking house from the outside. It's about 50,000 euros for a lot of space. So it works out to be the cheapest of the three that I've shown you here. And it seems again like it's in pretty good condition inside. So that's the kind of houses you can get up here. The question is, they're always easy to buy, but how will it be when you try to resell it? Olivia and I would like to personally invite you to come stay with us in our 17th century apartments here in Montepulciano. Sleeping between 2 and 10 guests, our apartments are the highest rated in town. TuscanPalace.com. Now we're going to head to Poggiodomo, and it's about a 30-minute trip from where we're at. We're going to be on SR 470, which is a strada regionale, a regional road, less important than a state highway. You can see by looking at the road in this video that it's kind of bumpy. There were some potholes. You can't just go 75, 80 kilometers an hour on this road because A, it's way too windy, and B, it's very rough shape. These are the kind of roads that you're going to have the farther up into the mountains that you go. Now, this is a beautiful day, and it's been a beautiful day for the 5 previous days. Imagine this when it's snowing and you're up in your little village like Poggiodomo and you got to get down to the hospital, or you're out of food, or someone needs to get up to you. It can make you feel very isolated. This is one of the things that you're giving up by trying to get into one of these small towns with the 7% tax rate. And that's not to say that it isn't perfect for you up here. It is absolutely beautiful. It might be just what you're looking for, where you don't have to see a lot of people, where you can walk down the road and not worry about getting hit by a car, ever. But I think it's important that you see firsthand what these villages are like, and really what it takes to be up here in these small, isolated towns. And this is a good time for me to beat that horse again about learning your Italian. If you want to move to these small 7% villages, there'll be a lot less people able to speak English. You need to study your Italian. It will freeze you out of the community if you can't easily communicate. Study, study, study. Welcome to Poggiodomo. I love these little farm things. You can put all sorts of different accessories on it, but it looks like someone carjacked half the car. It looks like part of it's missing. Those things are amazing. I wanted to show you guys something real fast. This is an old church up here. You see all the metal work? That's because of earthquake. And they're trying to keep this old church. I mean, this must be from the 14th, 13th century. They're trying to keep this church standing. And so they have to do this kind of work because we are in very serious earthquake country up here. And I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but this is why this is a 7% town. This is one of the few towns here in Umbria that's part of the 7% tax scheme. And you can instantly see why. This is what they're trying to get you to buy into. You move here and you get a break on your taxes. The question you have to ask yourself is it worth it? So let's take a quick walk around town. This house, Vendizi, for sale. Vendizi. And by the way, I know that bad things can happen anywhere, but you need to mitigate risk. You can look and see which areas are prone to earthquakes. Buon pomeriggio. And I'm just going to keep playing devil's advocate here. Let's say you move to this village and you save 7,000 euros a year in your tax bill, but you've spent 80,000 buying a house here. Are you ever going to be able to sell it? You've already seen how many for sale signs. Do you think there's a lot of people coming through here looking to buy something? If you had to walk away from your house, that would negate any tax savings that you ever had. I'm just looking out for you. You know, the construction almost looks new. I mean, it's old, but it almost looks new. I wonder if they were rebuilt after the last earthquake. The government pumped a lot of money into these towns. If you're already part of the 7% tax scheme here in Italy, I would love to talk to you. Please write me at bradsworld8@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to come to you if you want to be on an episode of Brad's World. I would love to film you and talk to you. It would be so helpful. There's so many people that want to do this. They could really use your experience. Now, this building here with the band of kind of terracotta color on the bottom, that is the listing that we're going to look at right now. It was the only listing I could find in town. So it's a good looking building. I mean, that is very nicely done. This apartment is only 30,000 euros, which is very cheap anywhere. But again, I don't know that you would ever be able to easily resell it again. Inside looks super nice. Obviously been done recently. That's very modern kitchen stuff. Nice old type fireplace. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. But this is just an idea of what you can get here. Windows seem kind of high up, by the way. But not a bad looking apartment, only 30,000 euros. Could you ever get your money back out of it? Maybe. I like to be upbeat. I like to be a butterfly and rainbow kind of guy. But I got to tell you, I can't for the life of me see how someone would make the conscious decision to move into a town like this. There is absolutely nothing here other than some actually decent looking homes. But it's not like you're very near to anything else. You're 30 minutes to the last town that I came up through. We have another town about 12 minutes away, but it's also in the 7% tax scheme. So I have a feeling that it's going to be something like this one. That was a hill all the way down. But let's go take a look and see. It's getting cool. We're up at about 1,000 feet elevation, 1,000 meters elevation. It's been a long day, 3,000 feet, and we have a lot of driving still to do. So let's get back in the car and go see what else we can find. So our third and final 7% tax town today is Monteleone di Spoleto, and it was about 15 minutes from where we were in Poggiodomo. I sped this up a little bit because I wanted you to get a good feel for how serpentine these roads are. It reminds me a lot here of maybe southern Colorado in the United States, the type of climate, the type of feel that you have. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful area. I hope you guys don't get the feeling that I'm just down on this area. I just want people to know exactly what they're getting into when they're dreaming about their 7% tax rate. Now we're coming into Monteleone di Spoleto proper, It's surrounded by farms. There's no wine up here. There's no olive trees that I saw up here. I think we're just a little too high at 3,000 feet for those things. Maybe the wine, but I just did not see a lot of vineyards. But it is a cute town, and there are some businesses here. There was actually 2 bars inside the town. You can see there's some big houses. There are things going on here. The nearest grocery store is about 20 minutes away in Kasha. Kasha was really hard hit by the earthquake. The hospital there is still in a temporary building. So this is one of the houses that I found in this town. It's a duplex, actually. This shows the whole thing, but you're only buying half of it. I thought it was a little pricey at about 150 US dollars per square foot, or around 1,500 euros per square meter. It is nice. I mean, it's nicely done. They didn't have a whole lot of pictures on the inside, but you can find it on Idealista in this town, Monteleone di Spoleto. And it looks like they did a great job finishing it out. It has some nice little views coming up, and I think that you would probably really enjoy living here. But again, I question, would you ever be able to get this kind of price back out of it again when you're ready to move? This other apartment that I found was actually what seemed to be a pretty good value, around 50 US dollars per square foot, 150 euros per square meter. That's very cheap, and it's right inside the Centro Storico, inside the historic district. So it was very big. Unfortunately, they didn't have very many photos that showed the outside. The photos that they have here on the inside, these aren't very good photos. But anyway, you can find things here that are very inexpensive. Hey everybody, so I'm in Monteleone di Spoleto, and we're about 30 kilometers from Spoleto. And Spoleto is a city that I may have shown you already, or it's coming up shortly in this video, that is a bigger, much bigger regional town. We are so far up into the mountains that even though it's only 30 kilometers, more or less, from here to Spoleto, it takes about an hour to drive there. And it is very windy, high roads. There's limited cell service. Once you get up here, I mean, it's beautiful. You can see the huge snow-capped mountain. I'm sure that's in Abruzzo. I believe we're still physically in Umbria. I was researching 7% towns here in Umbria where you could take advantage if you're on a pension from a foreign country and you're not currently a Italian tax resident, you're moving here, you can move to a town like this, to Monteleone di Spoleto, and you pay to the Italians a 7% flat tax on your pension income. It also includes some rental incomes, dividends, etc. Here's the catch, and you know there's a catch. This isn't some sort of gift from the Italian government. This is their way to breathe life into these villages. Now, this village actually seems like it has some stuff going on in it. I see cars driving around. There's people here. I have not seen a bar or a restaurant yet, although I do believe there is a bar here in town. The thing is this, you need to research your particular case very thoroughly because, for example, as an American, I will still be liable to pay tax on my Social Security even if I'm living in this town. So if my normal tax rate was, say, 22% on my Social Security, after I pay my 7% here, I will then file my U.S. tax return. I will pay 22% on that same income and deduct whatever I paid to the Italian government and give the balance to the United States. So by living here, I am not paying a 7% flat tax. I am paying a 7% flat tax to the Italian government. All my other income is still going to be taxed by the United States. Social Security income, and I'll put the little thing I found on the IRS website, is not part of the income that you get a tax credit for every year. You can make up to, I believe it's called a foreign income earned credit or something like that, and you get up to $120,000 worth of free income earned in a foreign country. Social Security is not part of that. You will pay tax on it. There's a lot of expenses in living in villages like this that you may not be thinking of. There's a lot less options for where you can get groceries. You usually are buying groceries off of grocery trucks. You may have to drive all the way into Spoleto. There's no way you could live here
without having your own car. There's just no way. You would have to have a car here because there's no way you could do a bus service from here to Spoleto without it taking up most of your day to go and come back. Another one of the reasons why the government is trying to get people to move here is we are in one of the most active earthquake zones in all of Italy. As you look around this town, and we're going to take a walk, you will see buildings that have been shored up. You'll see taller chimneys and things that are bound with steel. They have earthquakes here on a pretty frequent basis. They have major earthquakes here from time to time. Will you ever be in one? Maybe, maybe not. I was in the Loma Prieta earthquake in San Francisco. I believe it was 1989. And let me tell you, that stays with you for the rest of your life. A freeway overpass by my house in Oakland collapsed. That's where the 80 people were killed. And driving by that, driving under that every day, let me tell you, it leaves a big impression. So these are things that you need to think about when you're thinking about moving to a town like Monteleone di Spoleto. So let's take a look around the town. You may be surprised. You may be just the type of place you're looking for. And it may be worthwhile for you to move to a town like this.
So I'm not sure if that restaurant is permanently closed or maybe just closed for the season. Didn't have any signage on it. That's the fruit and vegetable shop. We'd already passed one bar. You know, a lot of these towns will liven up in the summertime because people come up to get out of the city. They're on vacation, especially places like Rome. Something to think about. But in the wintertime, it can be very desolate, very quiet. So that's all I'm going to do for beating this horse to death with the earthquakes and desolation and how quiet it is and how far moved you are from everything. You need to know what you're getting into. You need to check these cities out before you buy. And I hope you guys found this video to be helpful.
Hey guys, it's Brad. So now I'm in Spoleto. We're in Umbria, and we're about 45 minutes minimum from the towns that we've been looking at up here that are in the 7% tax range. Now, why am I in Spoleto? I'm in Spoleto because this is where you would come for major services. You need to buy a car, you need to see your insurance agent, you need to go to the hospital, those kind of things. You're going to be about 45 to 50 minutes away from those things. Now, my understanding is there's some sort of clinic up in a small town called Cascia, and that's up closer to these other towns. But this is the nearest main town. It's closer than it would be if you were driving over to, say, Perugia, which would be even farther still. So I just wanted to take you guys here and show you a little bit about what it's like in Spoleto, because again, this is where you have to come for any sort of major services. So let's take a look around.